Yeah, well, I started doing these autobiographical shows back in about 2016. I started doing these shows about my life. I've been through some traumatic stuff in my life, and
A courtroom, a camera, and a moment that should have never aired. What if the drama you see on TV didn't just end when the credits rolled, but followed people into real life, into courtrooms, headlines, and in some cases, tragedy? Because behind the entertainment, the laughter, the shock value, there's a side of television most viewers never see. A side where one scene, one line, or even a single decision can cost millions or destroy lives completely. From reality shows that crossed ethical lines to scripted series that blurred the truth just a little too much, these moments didn't just spark outrage, they triggered lawsuits. And trust me, some of these cases, they go way deeper than you'd expect. Let's break down the first set of moments where TV didn't just push boundaries, it completely shattered them. Number 20, unfair disqualification. America's Next Top Model. Anjali Preston's journey wasn't just about modeling, it was about redemption. Coming from a tough background, she fought her way back onto America's Next Top Model not once, but multiple times. By cycle 17, she had done the impossible. She made it to the top and was reportedly crowned the winner. But then, everything changed overnight. Without warning, she was suddenly disqualified. No clear explanation, no closure. Fans were confused, and rumors quickly spread that she had already won before being stripped of the title. Later, Preston revealed the real reason: her past as an escort, something she claimed producers already knew. According to her, they waited until the very end to act, costing her a $100,000 prize and a life-changing opportunity. Feeling betrayed, she filed a lawsuit for breach of contract and labor violations, demanding $3 million. Although the case was eventually dropped, the damage had already been done. In the eyes of many fans, though, she was still the real winner. Number 19, invasion of privacy and defamation. Law and Order. Crime shows often blur the line between fiction and reality, but sometimes they go too far. In a 2003 episode of Law and Order, a shady lawyer named Ravi Patel was portrayed as corrupt, involved in bribery, and tied to questionable dealings. Sounds like typical TV drama, except for one major problem. A real-life attorney, Ravi Batra, saw the episode and immediately recognized something disturbing. The name, the appearance, even the associations, it all felt too close to his real identity. Believing the character was directly based on him, Batra filed a $15 million lawsuit for defamation, arguing that viewers could easily connect the fictional portrayal to his real-life persona. What made this case unusual was that the court actually agreed to hear it. The similarities were deemed strong enough that it wasn't dismissed outright like most fictional likeness cases. Eventually, the lawsuit was settled out of court, but it left a lasting mark, proving that even fiction can carry very real consequences. Number 18, copyright infringement. Rock. Sometimes it's not the story or the characters that cause problems. It's what's quietly sitting in the background. In the 1995 sitcom Rock, artist Faith Ringgold noticed something shocking while watching an episode. Her own artwork was being displayed on screen. It wasn't credited, it wasn't licensed, and yet it appeared multiple times, clearly visible for viewers. The network argued it was insignificant, claiming the artwork only appeared briefly and didn't qualify as infringement. But Ringgold saw it differently. To her, it wasn't just about screen time, it was about ownership and respect. She took the case to court, and surprisingly, the ruling went in her favor. The court determined that even limited use could impact her ability to license the work elsewhere, making it a legitimate violation. This wasn't just a personal victory, it set a precedent. After this case, networks had to be far more careful about what appeared on screen, ensuring artists were properly credited and compensated. A small detail that turned into a big legal wake-up call. Number 17, parody lawsuit. South Park. When it comes to pushing boundaries, South Park has built an entire legacy on it. But in 2010, one of its jokes landed it in serious legal trouble. The episode Canada on Strike featured a parody of the viral song What in the Butt, with Butters performing it in his own ridiculous style. It seemed harmless, even hilarious, but the company behind the original video, Brown Mark Films, didn't see it that way. They claimed the show had copied their work without permission and filed a lawsuit demanding damages. What followed was a legal battle centered on one key question: what counts as parody? The court ultimately ruled in favor of South Park, stating the version was transformative and clearly comedic, qualifying as fair use. But it didn't stop there. Brown Mark Films was actually ordered to pay the legal fees. Still determined, they appealed and lost again. Ironically, the case may have boosted the original video's popularity, proving that sometimes parody doesn't just mock, it amplifies. 16. Likeness and trademark dispute. Family Guy. Even a quick joke can have serious consequences, especially when it involves a real person. In a 2006 episode of Family Guy, viewers spotted something unexpected: a cartoon version of legendary comedian Carol Burnett's iconic Charwoman character working as a janitor in an adult bookstore. For most viewers, it was just another edgy gag. But for Burnett, it crossed a line. She argued that the show had used her likeness and a trademarked character without permission, placing it in a context that damaged her legacy. Soon after, she filed a $6 million lawsuit against the network. The case raised serious questions about creative freedom versus personal rights. But in the end, the court sided with Family Guy, ruling the scene as parody, protected under the First Amendment. Interestingly, the judge even admitted the joke was offensive, but legally permissible. It was a reminder that in comedy, the line between humor and harm can be incredibly thin, and not always where you expect it. 15. Misrepresentation and emotional damage. Wife swap. Reality TV promises authenticity, but what if that reality is carefully engineered? Alicia Guastafaro learned that the hard way after appearing on Wife Swap. On the show, she was portrayed as spoiled, unintelligent, and out of touch, an image that quickly spread far beyond the episode. But according to Alicia, that version of her wasn't real. She claimed producers pushed her to act a certain way and then edited the footage to exaggerate those traits. What aired, she argued, was a distorted version of who she actually was. The consequences were brutal. She allegedly faced intense bullying, harassment, and even death threats. The situation became so overwhelming that she had to change schools and later reported developing anxiety. In response, she filed a staggering $100 million lawsuit against the network, accusing them of defamation and emotional distress. The case was settled privately, leaving the outcome unclear, but it exposed a darker truth. On reality TV, the story you see isn't always the one that happened. Number 14. Likeness dispute. Griselda. Netflix. Telling real-life stories always comes with risk, especially when the people involved are still connected to that legacy. When Netflix released Griselda, based on infamous drug lord Griselda Blanco, it quickly gained attention for its gripping portrayal. But not everyone was impressed. Blanco's son strongly objected to the series, claiming it used his mother's story and even elements of their family identity without permission. He argued that he had long planned to tell that story himself and deserved both recognition and compensation. Taking legal action, he sued Netflix and lead actress Sofia Vergara, hoping to block the show and secure financial damages. However, the court didn't side with him. The lawsuit was dismissed quickly, reinforcing the idea that public figures and historical events can often be dramatized without direct consent. Still, the case highlights an ongoing tension: who truly owns a story when it's based on real lives? Number 13. Defamation battle. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Sometimes, lawsuits aren't just about winning, they're about silencing criticism. In 2017, Last Week Tonight host John Oliver aired a segment targeting coal tycoon Robert Murray, criticizing safety practices in his mining operations. The segment was sharp, detailed, and unapologetically comedic, but it didn't sit well with Murray. Just days later, his company filed a defamation lawsuit against Oliver and HBO, claiming the segment damaged his reputation. This type of legal action is often referred to as a slap suit, designed more to intimidate than to win. And while the case was eventually dismissed in 2019, it came at a cost. Legal fees piled up, and the show's insurance premiums skyrocketed. But Oliver didn't back down. In fact, he doubled down, turning the entire situation into even more content, including a satirical musical segment. Legally, he won. Culturally, he may have won even bigger. Number 12. True story. Controversy. Baby reindeer. Claiming a story is true can be powerful, but it can also be dangerous. Netflix's Baby Reindeer blurred that line, presenting itself as a real-life account of stalking and obsession. But soon after its release, a woman named Fiona Harvey stepped forward with serious accusations. She claimed that the show's antagonist, Martha, was clearly based on her, but portrayed in a highly exaggerated and damaging way. According to Harvey, the dramatization led to online harassment and public backlash against her. What made things worse? The show explicitly labeled itself as a true story, making it easier for viewers to connect fiction with real individuals. Harvey responded with a massive $170 million lawsuit against Netflix, accusing them of defamation and emotional harm. While Netflix attempted to dismiss the case, the court allowed it to proceed, meaning the legal battle is far from over. This case raises a critical question. When storytelling becomes too real, who pays the price? Number 11. Negligence and tragedy. The Jenny Jones Show. Some TV moments don't just cross the line, they shatter it completely. In 1995, The Jenny Jones Show filmed an episode centered around secret crushes. One guest, Jonathan Schmitz, was brought on under the impression a woman admired him. Instead, he was publicly confronted with the revelation that a male acquaintance, Scott Amador, had feelings for him. The moment was awkward, unexpected, but seemingly harmless at first. Just 3 days later, everything took a dark turn. Schmitz shot and killed Amador. The tragedy sparked national outrage, and soon after, Amador's family filed a lawsuit against the show, accusing it of negligence. They argued that producers should have anticipated the emotional impact and potential consequences of such a setup. The case became a turning point for television, forcing producers to rethink how far they could push shock value. Because sometimes, the cost of entertainment is far higher than anyone expects. Number 10. Prank gone wrong. Punked. Pranks are supposed to be funny, but what happens when they stop feeling like jokes? Before Punked became famous for tricking celebrities, its early concept targeted regular people. And one particular stunt went way too far. At a Las Vegas hotel, producers staged a horrifying scene. A fake dead body placed inside a suite. An unsuspecting couple walked in and believed they had stumbled upon an actual crime scene. Panic set in immediately, but it didn't end there. According to the couple, hotel security, working with the show, refused to let them leave, trapping them in a situation that felt dangerously real. Even after the prank was revealed, the emotional damage had already been done. The couple filed a $10 million lawsuit, citing trauma and distress. The episode was never aired, quietly buried before it could reach the public. It was a harsh lesson. When fear becomes too real, entertainment can quickly turn into something far more serious. Number 9. Defamation claim. The Queen's Gambit. The Queen's Gambit was praised worldwide for its storytelling. But one small detail sparked a major controversy. In the final episode, a commentator mentions real-life chess legend Nona Gaprindashvili, claiming she had never competed against men. There was just one problem. That statement was completely false. Gaprindashvili wasn't just a participant in mixed competitions. She had defeated numerous male players and built a historic career doing exactly that. The show's line, though brief, undermined decades of her achievements. Feeling her reputation had been damaged, she filed a $5 million defamation lawsuit against Netflix. What made this case compelling was how such a minor script detail carried real-world consequences. Eventually, the case was settled privately in 2022, but it sent a clear message: accuracy matters, especially when real people are involved. Because sometimes, a single sentence can rewrite someone's legacy. Number 8. Copyright and religious representation. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Dark themes and occult imagery were central to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but one visual element triggered unexpected backlash. The show featured a statue of Baphomet, a symbolic figure associated with certain modern religious groups. However, the Satanic Temple noticed something unusual. The statue in the show looked strikingly similar to their own copyrighted design. But it wasn't just about resemblance, it was about representation. The organization argued that the show portrayed the figure in a sinister and evil context, which they believed misrepresented their beliefs and values. Taking action, they filed a $50 million lawsuit against Netflix and Warner Brothers, citing both copyright infringement and defamation. Rather than taking the fight to trial, both parties reached a private settlement. The case highlighted a unique issue. When fictional storytelling borrows from real-world symbols, it doesn't just risk legal trouble, it can spark cultural and ideological conflict. Number 7. Copyright dispute. The Big Bang Theory. For fans of The Big Bang Theory, the Soft Kitty song is instantly recognizable, a quirky, comforting tune used to calm Sheldon Cooper. It felt original, almost like it was created just for the show. But in reality, the lyrics traced back decades to a poem titled Warm Kitty. And that's where things got complicated. The daughters of the poem's creator claimed the show had used the lyrics without proper permission and filed a lawsuit against CBS and the producers. They argued it was a clear case of copyright infringement. However, proving ownership turned out to be the biggest hurdle. The court ultimately dismissed the case, ruling that they couldn't establish valid copyright control over the material. It was a surprising outcome, one where the legal battle wasn't about whether something was used, but who actually had the right to claim it. Sometimes, even the most innocent details have complicated histories behind them. Number 6. Indecency and Broadcast Standards, NYPD Blue. In the 1990s, television operated under strict rules, especially when it came to nudity. But NYPD Blue wasn't known for playing it safe. The show consistently pushed boundaries, and one scene in particular ignited nationwide controversy. It featured a brief shot of a woman's bare backside, something that, at the time, was considered unacceptable for network television. Viewers complained, and soon the Federal Communications Commission stepped in, issuing a $1.4 million fine against ABC. What followed was a long legal battle over what actually counts as indecent. Years later, in 2011, the court overturned the fine entirely, ruling that the FCC's standards were too vague and inconsistently applied. The decision didn't just impact one show, it reshaped how broadcast regulations were interpreted going forward. Because sometimes, it's not just about what's shown, but who gets to decide what's acceptable. Number 5. Defamation dispute. Inventing Anna. When a story is labeled true, audiences expect accuracy. But Inventing Anna blurred that line in a big way. The series, based on con artist Anna Delvey, painted a dramatic picture of deception and manipulation. But one person strongly disagreed with how she was portrayed: journalist Rachel Williams. In the show, Williams is depicted as opportunistic and self-serving. According to her, that version wasn't just exaggerated, it was damaging. She claimed the series used her real name and details while twisting her personality for dramatic effect. Feeling her reputation had been unfairly attacked, she filed a defamation lawsuit against Netflix in 2022. The case highlighted a growing issue with dramatized, true stories. When real people are involved, creative liberties can come at a serious cost. Because once something is shown to millions, it becomes very hard to separate fiction from reality. Number 4. Real-life impact, 13 Reasons Why. Some shows don't just tell stories, they influence emotions, behavior, and real-world outcomes. 13 Reasons Why was one of them. Centered around the tragic story of Hannah Baker, the series sparked global conversations about mental health, but it also faced intense backlash. Critics argued that certain scenes, especially the graphic portrayal of suicide, could have harmful effects on vulnerable viewers. In 2017, a heartbreaking case brought those concerns into the spotlight when a young viewer took her own life after watching the show. Her family later filed a lawsuit against Netflix, claiming the series contributed to the tragedy. While the court ultimately ruled in Netflix's favor, the controversy forced the platform to make changes, including editing sensitive scenes and adding stronger content warnings. It was a sobering reminder that entertainment isn't created in a vacuum, and sometimes its impact reaches far beyond the screen. Number 3. Defamation claim, making a murderer. Documentaries often claim to present the truth, but what happens when someone featured says that truth is incomplete? That's exactly what happened with Making a Murderer. The series followed the controversial case of Stephen Avery, raising serious questions about the justice system. But for Andrew Colburn, the portrayal felt deeply unfair. Colburn claimed the documentary selectively edited events to make it appear as though he was involved in framing Avery. According to him, key details were omitted, creating a misleading narrative that damaged his reputation. He filed a defamation lawsuit against Netflix, arguing that the show crossed the line from storytelling into distortion. However, the court dismissed the case, stating that while the documentary had a clear perspective, it didn't legally qualify as defamation. Still, the controversy raised an uncomfortable question. How much responsibility do filmmakers have when shaping real-life narratives? Number 2. Reputation damage. When They See Us. When They See Us told the powerful and painful story of the Central Park Five, young men wrongfully convicted of a crime they didn't commit. The series was widely praised, but it also reignited scrutiny around those involved in the original case. One of them was prosecutor Linda Fairstein. In the series, she's portrayed as a driving force behind the aggressive prosecution, often pushing forward despite weak evidence. Following the show's release, public backlash was immediate. Her reputation took a major hit. She lost professional positions, faced widespread criticism, and even saw calls for her books to be removed from shelves. In response, Fairstein filed a defamation lawsuit against Netflix, arguing that the portrayal was inaccurate and damaging. While parts of the case moved forward, it was ultimately settled before trial. But by then, the impact had already been felt, proving that sometimes public opinion can be just as powerful as any courtroom. Number 1. Tragedy and Responsibility. The Jerry Springer Show. Few shows thrived on chaos quite like The Jerry Springer Show. Confrontations, secrets, explosive reveals, it was all part of the formula. But in one case, that formula led to something far more serious. Nancy Campbell Panitz appeared on an episode believing she was there to repair her relationship. Instead, she was blindsided on national television, confronted with her ex-husband and his new partner in a humiliating reveal. The emotional fallout didn't end when the cameras stopped. Just hours after the episode aired, Nancy was found dead, and her ex-husband was later convicted of her murder. Her family filed a lawsuit against the show, claiming it created a volatile situation that contributed to the tragedy. Although the case was eventually dropped, the incident remains one of the darkest moments in television history. Because sometimes, the line between entertainment and reality isn't just blurred, it's completely shattered. So, which of these cases shocked you the most? Was it the ones where a simple joke turned into a lawsuit? Or the ones where real lives were permanently affected? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of TV's most controversial legal battles, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who loves behind-the-scenes drama, and subscribe for more stories that go way deeper than what you see on screen. Because trust me, this is just the beginning.